Alright, guys. Where to start? Holy shit. Um, I will say this. AEW Dynamite tonight with the last segment of the show was unbelievable. They had me hook, line, and sinker. By the way, this is AEW Dynamite January 8th, 2020 review on this ending of an episode that had me so convinced that they just made the biggest booking decision that was the worst decision any wrestling company could ever do. I am talking about Jon Moxley's answer to Chris Jericho. Now, I know this is the last part of the show, and I'm talking about this first, and as I should, because this was the best swerve I have ever seen in professional wrestling in a very long time. Jon Moxley said yes to joining the Inner Circle. I'm sitting there and I'm stunned. And I mean literally stunned. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my god, are they about to make the worst booking decision of all time for a creative idea for Jon Moxley in this company? I said to myself, I can't believe that. No, this has got to be a fucking ruse. This has got to be the biggest ruse of all time. Thankfully, it was. I almost got up after the show was over. I almost called my friend Matthew, who I've known for a long time. He's done a random wrestling talk with me on this channel several times over the years that I've had this channel, for at least since 2015. And I will say this, guys. I almost got on the phone and told him, look, you know what? I'm never watching AEW again. The fans were hooked, line, and sinkered as well. They were chanting sellout to Jon Moxley. It was awesome. This was the biggest ruse of all time in a very long time. Randy Orton's ruse of him being an injured talent and then RKOing AJ Styles, you know, that was pretty good, and it wasn't the greatest acting job in the world, I won't say that, but it was a pretty good job by Randy Orton last week on December 30th episode of Monday Night Raw. But this was the topper of all toppers. I mean, this was fucking unreal. This was a great, great job by Jon Moxley and the entire creative team of AEW. They stretched this ruse out all the way to the very bitter end. And I stayed there and I watched, because I was saying to myself, this can't be true. This has got to be a ruse. And eventually, they answered my question. It was. Thank God for that. Because they got me going for a moment, and I thought I was no longer going to be watching AEW or reviewing it on this channel ever again. That would have been the worst booking creative decision I have ever seen by any company. And yes, that would even be worse than anything WWE could possibly think of. But that's not here or there. Anyway, that is my beginning portion of this review on this show. The rest of the show, guys, I have to say, it wasn't all that big of a deal. You know, if you missed it, you didn't miss much. The last segment was the most important thing of this show. Everything else was okay wrestling, but majority of it, it really wasn't that big of a deal. You wouldn't have missed out on much of anything. We had Hangman Page and Kenny Omega kicking things off against Private Party, which is a good matchup to kickstart the show. I had no problems with that. Kenny Omega and Hangman Page pick up the victory. This time around, not having any kind of friction with one another or, you know, having any mishaps with one another and arguing over what happened. So Omega got the one-winged angel on Quinn and got the 1-2-3 to pick up the victory. Solid matchup. Fortunately, Private Party continue to eat the losses and probably continue to go down in the rankings for the tag team division. Now, Pac, after the match ends, he attacks Michael Nakazawa, which is one of Kenny Omega's good friends, and he puts him in a submission hold, which I actually forgot. I'm trying to see here what the name of the move was. The Brutalizer, excuse me. He actually locked in the Brutalizer on Michael Nakazawa, and he makes him pretty much pass out to sleep from the hold. So as they go to a split screen commercial, fans offer up a beer to Paige and he drinks it up. Paige then heads up to another section and drinks another beer with a group of fans. Paige continues walking through the crowd and talking with different people, giving fist bumps to a number of them, and cameras showing signs like Hangover Paige and Hangman Paige, drink my beer. I don't know what this is. This is a new gimmick, what they got going here with this beer, associating beer with Hangman Page. What does this mean? He's becoming an alcoholic wrestler? I don't understand. This is his new gimmick. He's a drunk. I mean, like, what the fuck? Last week we saw him with a cocktail, vodka and tonic, I think it was, or some kind of shit. That was a shot drink, and he's sitting there on a commentary booth with Taz and, or actually it was 2 weeks ago, excuse me, or 3 weeks ago, something like that. I'm mixing up the episodes and shit like that, but you get my point. But yeah, he's having drinks, and so actually, no, it was last week. I'm sorry, I was incorrect. He was sitting there with Taz and JR and Excalibur, drinking some shot drink of some sort, which I forgot. I think it was vodka. And he was drinking that up, and now all of a sudden he's drinking beer with the crowd. Hey, you know, by all means, getting a chance to drink a beer with a wrestler who's performing in the ring, making lots of money compared to what you're doing, and he's willing to interact with you, that's a pretty fucking good deal. I mean, and you're not paying for it either for him to interact with you. So, I mean, that, by all means, that's a fucking great deal. But, honestly, then we go into Riho defending the Women's Championship against Chris Statlander, which was, by God, the worst fucking match I have seen on this entire show. This entire show, if you would want to say any match was really bad, this was it for this episode. This match was downright dreadful, boring as fuck, and downright retarded. I couldn't stand this fucking segment whatsoever. I couldn't wait when the match was over. I was looking at my cell phone the whole time while this match was going on. This was awful garbage. This belongs on WWE. I'm sorry. This is shit. Riho picks up the victory on top of it with a little bit of Awesome Kong tripping up Statlander, and Riho gets the cover and the 1-2-3, and Riho isn't happy with the ending of the match. Well, I got one question for you, Riho. What the fuck are you pinning her if you know for a fact she was being screwed out of a match with you? Why would you do that? That makes no fucking sense. But yeah, go ahead and get the cover anyway. You fucking two-faced, hypocritical bullshit bitch. Whatever. Riho is a fucking terrible wrestler. I liked her at first, and now I'm just starting to dislike her fucking ass more and more. Especially being the women's champion. She is doing no good for that fucking belt. She knows no English whatsoever. I'd rather see Asuka be the fucking women's champion on WWE right now at this point. Just to make AEW say, hey, WWE, which is one of the worst creative wrestling companies in the world outside of their NXT product, is fucking got a better women's champion than we do. There you go. That's just my little rant there. But this match was downright dreadful. Not even worth your fucking time if you're going back to watch this match. Or this show, I should say. So, Sammy Guevara, he has a match with Christopher Daniels. Which, my God, I am getting sick of Sammy Guevara. I think he is absolute trash. And he's one of the weakest fucking characters on the Inner Circle. He makes this fucking group look like a pathetic group of losers. He belongs nowhere near Inner Circle. Quite frankly, he doesn't belong on AEW, period. I can't stand Sammy Guevara. He's garbage. And he gets a victory over Christopher Daniels thanks to who? Pentagon Jr. Why the fuck is Pentagon Jr. anywhere around Christopher Daniels? Hasn't their shit ended already? Or are they going to have a one-on-one match at Revolution? If they're going to do that, by all means, pull the fucking trigger already and stop having Pentagon Jr. in tag team matches with his brother Rey Fenix. This is fucking stupid. But yeah, Sammy Guevara picks up a victory with a kick, a super kick to, it was a kick to the back of the head, and then he covers him, and the match is over at that point. What a fucking shitty ass ending, and anticlimactic, may I add, for this match. This was shit. I didn't like this match at all. This match was boring as fuck. After the match, though, I did like this. The Dark Order came down to the ring to talk to Daniels and say, hey, you know, we've known each other for a very long time. We have known each other. He met him 15 years ago. He's actually not the same person he used to be. Saying that there's a lot of people nowadays saying he's lost a step or two. Uno says he could help Daniels and made him the man he once was. Actually, I should rephrase that because the person who wrote this fucking article is an idiot. And Uno says he could help Daniels and make him the man he once was. Not make him the man he once was. Uno then pulls out a mask and offers it to him. Daniels takes the mask and thinks about it long and hard. For a moment, he looked like he might have joined the Dark Order, but he hesitated. He thought for a moment, and he throws the mask at Uno, and everyone attacks Daniels. Outruns the SCU and the Young Bucks, which made logical sense. Dark Order, on that December 18th episode, attacked the SCU and the Young Bucks, so that made sense. At that point, they beat up everyone as Uno bounces from the ring ahead of time, and the Dark Order gets destroyed by the group. Daniels hits his best moonsault ever as we go to break. So good, solid little segment there after the match that was fucking terrible. Ended on a good note. So I will give them credit for that. This matchup for the AEW World Tag Team titles is going to be the SCU versus the Young Bucks and Dark Order in a triple threat tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team titles for for Revolution. I keep saying final when I'm thinking of like fucking Impact Wrestling and shit like that. God help me. Anyway, yeah, AEW Revolution. Now, that is a good match. I think that would be an awesome match. So I was okay with that. I would be okay with that kind of match being set up. Now, the Lucha Brothers versus Cody and Dustin Rhodes, or the Brotherhood as they're called. This matchup was okay. I had no major issues with it. The Rhodes brothers actually win this match with the twisting suplex. to Rey Fenix, and Dustin Rhodes gets a victory. Hallelujah. Holy shit. Finally, Dustin Rhodes gets a victory. I've been waiting for that to happen since he joined AEW for a year now. And when was the last time Dustin Rhodes, as any character, has he gotten a win? What has it been, like 2-3 years maybe, since he actually got a fucking victory on a professional wrestling match? God help us. So after the match was over, Tony Schiavone heads up to the ring to talk to Cody. He asks if Cody accepts MJF's crazy terms before their match can take place at Revolution. And Arn Anderson, jumps in and doesn't understand who made MJF God. Now, I did like the little cut-in by Anderson, but for him to talk for Cody Rhodes and make the decision for him, stating that they would come back later on, like next week or something like that, to give their answer, I think it was a little fucking dumb. That makes Cody look weak. Makes him look like he needs a mentor. Like, what does he need a mentor? He's built a fucking awesome company with a guy named Tony Khan, and he's got a talent group of fucking great guys on his roster that work with him. And he has won world championships in other promotions. And he's had memorable matches outside of WWE and recreated himself and made himself popular without any help of WWE. But WWE can't seem to bring any popularity to anybody anyway, so that doesn't even count to what I'm saying here. But my point being is, he has done a lot more since he's moved out on his own from WWE, being on his own in the independent wrestling scene, and then building this creation of AEW with other people helping him, of course. He didn't do it all by himself, but he doesn't need a mentor like Arn Anderson. No disrespect to Arn Anderson. He's a great wrestler. He's a legend in wrestling. But that's not something Cody needs. And I said this last week, and last couple of weeks since they made this announcement. I have not been for it. I really have not been for the idea of Arn Anderson being part of Cody. Cody doesn't need a manager. Unless you want to make him a heel prick. I mean, that would be fine. But this being the situation, I don't think Arn Anderson is needed in Cody's corner. I really don't. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about that on the comments down below. Now, MJF. This would be interesting if they could pull something like this off. Hear me out. Could you imagine, guys, that we go into Revolution with the capability if AEW could do this, which I don't believe they can, based on some contract agreement or something like that with this performer and a legend in the wrestling business. Could you imagine if they had Ric Flair in MJF's corner? That would make sense. Ric Flair in MJF's corner would be fantastic. Ric Flair would be something that MJF could use as just another little cherry on the top for his gimmick. I think Ric Flair would be awesome with MJF. He could have him as a manager, and you get some entertainment out of Ric Flair being his manager. I think that would be great. But I do believe that Ric Flair is under contract on a Legends deal with WWE, so I don't think that would work. So that's just... let me know if that is true or not, but I highly doubt they could get Ric Flair part of AEW because of that reason. Unless, they have Ric Flair just show up at random when they just pay him for a live show that he shows up at, and that's it. So they pay him as needed, and that's really it, and he could go anywhere he wants before that. Like in between when he's not being used on WWE. If that's the case, that's awesome. But if not, I don't see that actually happening. So that's just a little creative idea I came up with that I'd throw out on the show that I thought would be funny to say. So we had a segment with Angelo Pufo, and he's the brother of Randy Savage. He was actually at the Memphis Wrestling Tribute during the show before they had the AEW Dynamite show on the air. So that was pretty much all. He was very proud to be part of an AEW product that he believes has got a ton of talent, and the word Dynamite is definitely the description of what AEW is, so on and so forth. So, I mean, great comments made by Randy Savage's brother, but, I mean, at the same time, it's a whatever segment. It's not even really noteworthy to mention on this review. It's just something he said nice about AEW and the product that it is today. So, MJF comes out. God, I love this guy. To the ring with Wardlow. And MJF calls Cody a coward and does a countdown from 10 to get Cody out and face him. No answer. MJF calls Cody a bullshit. And out rolls Diamond Dallas Page. DDP runs down some of the accolades and then says he never would have thought he'd be back on TNT. If you asked him 19 years ago when WCW went out of business, would he believe that, another wrestling company would show up on TNT? He would say that you're probably on crack. Which I think was funny for him to even mention that. He does go on promoting his yoga thing. Fans started chanting yoga in the whole segment, which I was waiting for MJF to come out and say, hey, I didn't know this was your spot to plug in some promotions of your shit, But hey, that's what it is, I guess. But they did show the camera showing MJF kind of digging through his cell phone and kind of just shuffling through things on there while he was waiting for DDP to finally shut up and allow him to speak, which was kind of nice for MJF to even do that for him. So MJF isn't paying attention at all, as I just mentioned, looking at his phone while Paige talks, and Paige says he wants to address something that happened a few weeks back when MJF won that AEW Dynamite ring. He says fans blew up his Twitter asking if he'd ever be back for just one more match. MJF finally had enough and says Paige couldn't lace his boots even in his prime. He talks some more trash and Paige steps up towards him, and he also mentions that at this point in time he couldn't even hold his jock at this point, at this late day in his life. And Paige steps up towards him, but MJF says he's not saying he wants to fight, but maybe someone else might. And he brings about the Blade, the Butcher, and the Bunny, which I think is fucking ridiculous that he even has that group around him. So MJF reminds Paige that WCW is dead, and that's also the average age of his fans. MJF tells Paige he can either 1, kiss his ring and leave, or 2, send Paige straight to hospice, which I thought was fucking great that he said hospice instead of hospital. So he said straight to hospice and go after one of his daughters and bang, I guess is what they're saying here. Well, he actually states word for word. He says, I will go after your diamond daughters. And he didn't have the microphone, but he kind of said, I'll lay them on a bed and deliver. And then he didn't really have the microphone near his mouth anymore. So I was kind of hoping he was going to say, well, I'll go ahead and take your daughter down and one of your diamond daughters down and make her feel the bang kind of thing. That would have been kind of a nice little touch, ripping off of Diamond Dallas Page's bang gimmick catchphrase. So Page goes after MJF, but then his cutter but then his cutter on both the Blade and the Butcher, MJF goes in for a strike. Page nearly gives him a cutter. MJF shoves him into Wardlow, and MJF with a low blow kick, and QT, Marshall, Dustin, and some referees runs out to help DDP, and that was pretty much the end of this segment. God almighty, the guy that wrote this article that I'm reading off to you guys is fucking terrible. I don't know what kind of school he came from, or where he went to, what school he went to. But, not that I have room to talk here. I don't even sound like I'm speaking proper grammar here. Anyway, but yeah, there was one thing I did forget to mention, which is not written in this article. I like the one comment that came from DDP's mouth when he mentions about Wardlow. He calls him Wardblow, which I thought was a little funny. They called him Wardblow instead of Wardlow. So, they had the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy against the Jurassic Express, which I could have taken or leave this matchup. I didn't really care for this match whatsoever. Jurassic Express did get a victory, which I'm happy for them. They actually pick up a nice little victory, continuing some momentum for them, making them more credible to actually go after an AEW World Tag Team titles. So I would have been cool with that at some point, them winning the AEW Tag Team titles. Alright, so the last thing was the segment with the Inner Circle and Jon Moxley, with Jon Moxley delivering his decision, as I already mentioned. Jon Moxley, he got me convinced for a moment that I thought I was going to be saying to you guys tonight, it's the end for me to watch AEW at all. Because that would have been the worst creative decision I have ever seen a company do, except maybe WWE, but this is an opportunity to make a guy who is established, has an established name, and you go ahead and do that. I was just like flabbergasted for a moment. I really thought that they were going to go with this, and I said, come on, deliver the fucking ruse and, throw the little twist in here and get this over with. You're getting me going here. Like, you got me believing this is actually going to happen. So finally, just a few seconds before the show is supposed to go off the air, he tells him to shove it, and he gives him the paradigm shift and beats up the rest of the Inner Circle. And thank God the decision wasn't final. Hallelujah. It was just a ruse. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I have to say on this episode of AEW Dynamite for January 8th, 2020. I have to say the show as a whole could have been kind of improved. The wrestling itself was okay. That women's championship match was god-awful. And anyone that wants to watch that match again, I don't understand why you would want to torture yourself. It's probably reminds me of watching WWE Divas from back in the day, and actually not as bad as that, but still, they're not that great for wrestling entertainment sorts. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you on that as always. And I thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.